Wait, stop. That's my son, my child. I didn't do anything. Please, listen. Please, my hands are behind me. Look at them.
And on a quiet Tuesday afternoon, in the parking lot of my son's elementary school, I was arrested for a crime I didn't commit, in front of dozens of parents, teachers, and children. I can still hear my son screaming my name as they put me in handcuffs. What hurt the most wasn't the metal digging into my wrists. It was the look in his eyes. He thought they were taking me away forever. My name is Danielle Brooks, and I never imagined that one ordinary afternoon would become the most humiliating and terrifying day of my life. I am a 34-year-old black mother, and until that day, I had never been in trouble with the police. I worked as a nurse, paid my bills on time, and spent most of my free hours trying to give my son, Caleb, the stable childhood I never had. The day it happened was a Tuesday. I remember because Tuesdays were usually my easiest shifts at the hospital, and I always looked forward to picking Caleb up from school afterward. It was our little routine. I would arrive 10 minutes early, park across from the front gate, and watch the doors until I saw him run out with that big smile on his face. That afternoon, the sky was clear, and the sun was warm on my skin as I stepped out of the car. I leaned against the door, scrolling through messages on my phone while waiting for the bell to ring. Around me, other parents stood in small groups, chatting quietly. It was peaceful, the kind of calm that makes you believe everything in your life is under control. When the bell finally rang, the school doors burst open, and children began flooding out in a wave of backpacks and laughter. I spotted Caleb almost immediately. He was wearing his favorite blue hoodie, the one with the little basketball logo on the chest. He saw me at the same time and started running toward me, shouting, "Mom!" I smiled and opened my arms, ready to catch him like I always did. That was the moment the sirens cut through the air. At first, I didn't pay much attention. Sirens were not unusual in our neighborhood. But then the sound grew louder, closer, and within seconds, 2 police cars turned sharply into the school parking lot. I remember thinking it must be an emergency nearby. Maybe someone had gotten hurt. I had no idea they were coming for me. The first patrol car stopped only a few feet away from where I was standing. The door flew open, and 2 officers stepped out quickly, their faces tense and serious. One of them looked directly at me and shouted, "Mom, step away from the child." For a second, I didn't even realize he was talking to me. I glanced behind me, confused, expecting to see someone else standing there. But there was no one, just me and my son. I said, "What's going on?" Before I could say anything else, the officer grabbed my arm and pulled me away from Caleb. The sudden force made me stumble, and I felt my heart start racing in my chest. "Mom, keep your hands where we can see them," he said, his voice sharp and loud. Caleb froze, his small hand still reaching toward mine. "Mom?" he said, his voice trembling. I tried to stay calm. I thought if I just explained that he was my son, everything would be cleared up in seconds. "That's my child," I said. "His name is Caleb. What is this about?" The officers didn't respond. Instead, one of them began speaking rapidly into his radio, describing my appearance and the car behind me. By then, people had started to notice. Conversations stopped. Parents turned their heads. Some of them began pulling out their phones. I could feel their eyes on me, and a heavy knot of fear began forming in my stomach. One officer moved behind me and grabbed my wrists. "Turn around," he ordered. I hesitated, not because I was refusing, but because I was in shock. I had done nothing wrong, yet I was being treated like a criminal in front of dozens of people, including my own child. "Please," I said, my voice shaking. "You're making a mistake." That was when I heard the metallic click of handcuffs snapping shut around my wrists. The sound echoed in my ears, louder than the sirens, louder than the murmurs of the crowd. It felt unreal, like I was watching someone else's life instead of my own. Caleb started crying immediately. "Mom, why are they hurting you?" I turned my head as far as I could and saw him being held back by another officer. He was struggling, tears streaming down his face, his little body shaking with fear. "It's okay, baby," I tried to say, but my voice cracked before the words were fully out. One of the officers leaned closer to me and said, "You are being detained in connection with a kidnapping report." For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Kidnapping? The word didn't make any sense. I looked at Caleb, then back at the officer, waiting for him to realize how ridiculous that accusation was. "That's my son," I repeated. "I gave birth to him. You can check the hospital records." But they didn't check anything. They didn't ask Caleb his name or mine. They didn't ask for identification before putting me in handcuffs. They just kept following whatever information had been given to them over the radio. They walked me toward the patrol car while Caleb screamed and tried to run after us. His voice was filled with panic, the kind of fear no child should ever have to feel. "Don't take my mom," he cried. Hearing him beg like that felt like someone was ripping my heart out of my chest. They placed me in the back seat of the patrol car, and the door slammed shut behind me. The sound was final, heavy, and it made the situation feel terrifyingly real. Through the window, I watched Caleb standing on the sidewalk, surrounded by strangers, crying and reaching toward the car as it pulled away. I had spent years teaching him that the police were there to protect us. Now he was watching them take his mother away in handcuffs. The ride to the police station felt endless. My wrists hurt from the tight metal cuffs, but the physical pain was nothing compared to the thoughts racing through my mind. What if they didn't believe me? What if they took Caleb somewhere else? What if he thought I had abandoned him? When we arrived at the station, they led me inside through a side entrance away from the public view. The bright fluorescent lights made everything look cold and unreal. They took my fingerprints and my photograph as if I were a dangerous criminal. I kept repeating the same sentence over and over again. "That's my son. You have the wrong person." Finally, one officer told me that earlier that afternoon, a woman had reported her child missing from a park across town. The description was vague. A black boy, around 7 years old, wearing a blue hoodie. That was enough for someone to call the police when they saw me picking Caleb up from school. They had assumed I was the kidnapper before even asking a single question. When I was allowed to make a phone call, my hands were still shaking as I dialed my sister Monique's number. She is a lawyer, and the moment she heard my voice breaking on the other end of the line, she knew something was terribly wrong. Within an hour, she arrived at the station carrying Caleb's birth certificate, my identification, and even photos of me holding him as a newborn in the hospital. The entire atmosphere changed as soon as she walked in. Officers who had been cold and dismissive suddenly became quiet and cautious. After reviewing the documents, they finally removed the handcuffs. No one looked me in the eyes. No one said they were sorry. One officer simply muttered, "You're free to go." Those words should have brought relief, but instead I felt hollow. The damage had already been done. When I stepped outside the station, Monique was waiting with Caleb. The moment he saw me, he ran into my arms and wrapped himself around me so tightly that I could barely breathe. "I thought they took you away forever," he whispered against my shoulder. I held him and promised him that I would never leave him, even though I knew I had no control over what had just happened. In the weeks that followed, the video recorded by parents at the school spread online. Strangers began discussing my life, my arrest, and my character as if they knew me personally. Some people supported me. Others said the police were only doing their job. But none of them had heard my son crying that day. None of them had felt the cold metal of handcuffs digging into their wrists while being accused of kidnapping their own child. That day changed how I see the world. It taught me that being a law-abiding citizen is not always enough to protect you. Sometimes, all it takes is a misunderstanding, a vague description, and a few wrong assumptions for your life to be turned upside down in front of everyone you know. My name is Danielle Brooks, and this is the story of the day I was arrested for kidnapping my own son.
What happened to Danielle Brooks is not just a story about a misunderstanding. It is a reminder of how quickly assumptions can turn into life-changing consequences. In situations involving law enforcement, staying calm, clearly identifying yourself, and knowing your legal rights can make a critical difference. But as Danielle's experience shows, even when you do everything right, mistakes can still happen. If you ever find yourself in a similar situation, remember to remain calm, avoid sudden movements, and clearly communicate your identity and relationship to the child or person with you. And as soon as possible, contact a lawyer or a trusted family member who can provide proof and support. No parent should ever have to watch their child cry in fear because of a mistake that could have been prevented with proper verification. Stories like this are more common than many people realize. They often go unheard, buried in silence, or dismissed as isolated incidents. If Danielle's story moved you, or if you believe more people need to hear stories like this, consider subscribing to this channel. We share real and realistic experiences that highlight the importance of awareness, accountability, and understanding your rights. By subscribing, you help bring attention to stories that might otherwise be forgotten. And if you have ever witnessed or experienced something similar, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Your voice might help someone else feel less alone. Stay informed, stay aware, and we will see you in the next story.